Young. I was way too young to be smoking weed, if I'm being honest.
How old?
Child, like 10, 9,
Lord.
something like
You
that.
might be the record then.
Yeah, I was a baby, like way too young.
You got an older sibling or something?
I have 5 brothers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You got jumped in early.
I got five brothers, and one of them's my stepbrother, and he's very similar to my age. And he went to a different school or whatever, and he's the one that put weed in front of me the first time.
Dude.
I was like, oh, okay. And I remember, I'll never forget it. We were like smoking weed out in like a field out behind my grandma's house, in a rural area. You go on those long ass walks because you're terrified. You like go super rural and nobody can see me because you can't be like, oh, it's a cigarette. No, you're 9 years old, 10 years old. Like you
those
can't
those walks home are crazy.
So you're like
fucking twisted.
Pulls the whatever beasters or the mids that he had out of the little Altoids can, and we're smoking a wood pipe. It's like like an old tobacco pipe from my grandfather. It's like this long. It's a shotgun, and then a little bowl at the front, or like halfway up the front, 3/4 up the front. So roast it.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Some history.
And I remember my stepbrother, because he was a professional. He'd smoked weed at least 4 times before then.
Yeah.
Like he already knew what the fuck was up. So I roast the weed, and I'm for sure lit. And he's like pointing at bugs on the thing, like trying to see if I was gonna fake. When you're like a little ass kid, you drink a non-alcoholic beer and you're like, I'm hammered.
Yeah.
So he's like trying to call my bluff, being like, you didn't inhale, like you're not high. And I was like, no, I'm high, and I'm also not hallucinating. Like this is cool though. Weed is tight.
Yeah.
So it started with the Reggie, started with the Beasters, and then it was a pretty fast roll into high-end weed. I was like, oh shit, for this price I can get good weed. And then I was like, how do I do this for free?
So it didn't even stop after that. You just started being a smoker from then on.
Pretty much, dude. Like
Wow.
I like wasn't an everyday at 10 years old, but yeah, it wrapped up to like being something pretty quick. It was a part of my life from a very young age for sure. And where we grew up, we didn't have like a medical scene. So like no matter what, you didn't have that guise, just like you guys, like you don't have that guise of like, oh, this is medicinal. That you have the criminal mindset immediately.
You
like
just get stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, it's
I'm
weed.
gonna get in trouble if I get like this isn't gonna be good, And then like once you get onto it, I like started finding out my uncle grew a tree. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
like,
wow.
He's got the 5-gallon buckets, the outdoor tree in Vermont. You got like a 20-minute season. So like you're not you're not growing good weed, it's never finishing. But to me, that was my first exposure to pop, because he would pop seeds every year. That was his run. He would throw like 20 fucking. And we had a state, the head at one point, I don't know if he still was at that time, but he was the head of the state police, and he lived in like diagonally right behind us. So we got this dude right behind us, and my uncle in the little like bush between their house has 5 fucking or 6, 5-gallon plants, and then he'd have a little greenhouse literally right next to this guy.
Dude.
There's no way you didn't know. There's no way you didn't see it, but yeah, for whatever reason, didn't give him a hard time. So
it's different when your neighbors sometimes too. There's like that's in the South, at least there's that like, nah, it's my neighbor. I don't fuck with him.
It's okay. He's not hurting nobody.
Yeah.
My uncle's not hurting nobody. But yeah, I have like a lot to blame and to thank on my uncle. Fucking,
Did he let you like?
No, not at all. He was he's the youngest brother. My dad, I'm a big Italian family. So my dad had 5 brothers, or 5 siblings. So he's the youngest one. My dad's the oldest brother. So if like my dad caught fucking Tommy giving me weed or giving me he'd beat his ass. Grown ass men, they'd fight,
like brothers.
Oh, for sure, 1,000%. So yeah, it wasn't all fun and games until I was like 15, and then my old man is like, I was getting caught stealing cigarettes out of my dad's pack at like 7. I was a little like piece of shit, dude. We're little scumbags, But yeah, the environment I grew up in was different.
Hey, if you like that video and you want to see more, make sure you hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel. First Smoke of the Day clips.